Welcome to my channel. Are you ready to start? Because I'm ready to start. So let's start. Today we are looking at turn-based games where you, the player, has the goal of just not saving the world, but about putting food on the table and paying those bills. That's right. 5 more Mercenary games that you can play right now. If you missed my first list, then it should be in the description of this video or at the end of this video. Please check it at your leisure. Now, without further ado, Jagged Alliance 1 Gold Edition was published by THQ Nordic and developed by both Surtech and MabLab Software. It was released way back in June 1994. This is probably the oldest game on this list, and thus a true blue classic, but it will load on your DOS. This is something older games will do. If you don't know what true DOS is, do a little quick Google search on it. To suffice to say, it's some form of operating system that works off of your disk drive. Jagged Alliance 1 was there at the very start of the turn-based tactical genre, alongside games like Laser Squad and XCOM. Well, unlike XCOM and Laser Squad, instead of protecting the world for free, you are getting paid for your services. Hiring new mercs can be a tricky proposition, as some of them will not get along. There will be some infighting. Since you are newly hiring people, they will have problems trusting you, and they will accept contracts from you. The higher end mercenaries, that is. The lower end ones will be less picky. Next, there is question of money, of income. There's a lot of spinning plates for this. The combat has very similar feel to the old school XCOM games and Laser Squad games, where you have TUs and action points, and you use those to do things like move, shoot, get into cover, get down to a low level like kneeling or movement or shooting or any of the other things you will get your mercenaries to do in combat situations. Mercenaries do level up over time, so you will eventually get better mercenaries. You will also get better mercenaries by, well, making more of a name for yourself, getting better access to wealth, so you can buy the more expensive mercenaries. Hopefully all this builds into a victory for you, as balancing all these objectives and the money situation will be difficult at first, but as time goes on, you'll be able to pick up the system, I'd say relatively quickly, and you'll have an easier go of it. Now, if you're looking for a more current version than this one that I'm showing you right now, may I suggest you check out Jagged Alliance 3. For more details on it, I would once again point you to my first video in this series. It's linked in the description. Otherwise, I would recommend this to people who like old school games. The reason I recommend those two platforms is because, well, they're easy to work with, and they often have sales, so you can get it at a fairly discounted price, so you won't have to break the piggy bank in order to own it.
These troubled times of quarreling factions and outlaws roaming the land, work is not scarce for a band of mercenaries. The stories of this age have been recorded. They are known as the Wartales.
Wartales was both published and developed by Shiro Games. It was full release after some time in early access in April 2023. It may look like 3D Battle Brothers, but I assure you there's far much more going on with this game than it would appear. It has dungeons for you to explore, mini games, character classes, and much more. It doesn't have procedural maps, so if you didn't like that in Battle Brothers, then this game could be for you. As the map here is always the same thing, there's certain events that are procedural or change depending on how you resolve them, so always keep that in mind. This game looks like it'll be on the receiving end of many more updates and DLC. because there's still a roadmap about this game. And Battle Brothers hasn't officially said they're not going to do any more updates or DLC, but it doesn't look like they have any interest in continuing because they have another game coming out called Menace. So here in Wartales, you could see changes coming as probably as maybe up to a year or two after this video. So keep your eye open for that. Throughout the game, you'll be given moral choices to decide whether or not you're going to help somebody else out or you're basically going to betray them. Like, for instance, you can help this group of soldiers who have trapped a bandit warlord in a cave, or you can betray the soldiers and help the bandit warlord escape by killing them. It's all up to you. Contracts in this game can range from relatively easy or relatively dangerous with a very powerful opponent who will shred your entire mercenary party. The game will signpost this, however, and let you know that you are out of your depth, so you may want to factor that in every time you take a contract. And also remember, you can take multiple contracts as well. For those who like extra pain, there's an Iron Man mode to this game as well. That means you have one save, and if something goes wrong, that's it. It's game over. You have to start all over from the beginning. I would recommend this game to people that liked Battle Brothers but wanted more substance, much more options, much more detailed gameplay, and also for people who don't exactly favor sprites in their games and prefer more 3D models for characters inside the game. And the game is wonderfully done. There's some good lighting and shading. The graphics look fantastic in battle, especially with the kill animations that kick off when you finish off a particularly weak opponent. While it does have similarities to Battle Brothers, I have to say it is a very different experience. And if you didn't like Battle Brothers or you thought it was missing something, you might want to give Wartales a shot. "7.62" was published by Fulcrum Publishing and developed by Aprion. It was released in August 2007. If you liked Jagged Alliance, then you might like this underrated gem. It has a similar setup, but goes a little bit harder than Jagged Alliance. The game boasts plenty of firearms to use, as well as multiple endings that will have you guessing up until the very end. Has a very detailed combat system that will put your tactical skills to the test. Some dialogue trees that is very rich and full of options. Now, High Caliber seems to be the only one working. Hard Life seems to, well, just be giving me a blank screen. I don't know if it's my setup or anything. So I would recommend you use High Caliber. And by the way, I'm using the Steam version of it, so I don't know if that has any effects on it. So I would say to be fiddling with this for a while to get it to work properly. The type of person that would enjoy this game the most would probably be someone who's played Jagged Alliance or someone who is in that sphere who enjoys Jagged Alliance and wants something a bit different and newer. This game can also be a bit clunky at times, so be aware of that as well. It'll take some time to adjust to it, but overall, you should get at least some enjoyment out of it. Iron Oath was published by Humble Games and developed by Curious Panda Games. It was released in November 2023 after some time in early access. This is basically a more Dungeons and Dragons type of mercenary game than Wartales was. In fact, it reminds me a lot of Darkest Dungeon. The first one, not the second one, if you know what I mean. You go through dangers, and if you survive long enough, you might get even better rewards than you were initially supposed to get. It depends on how willing you are to risk your units in battle against incredibly dangerous opponents that will do a significant amount of damage to them, cause permanent injuries, even kill them. Yes, there's permanent death in this. However, not every quest requires this system. Some have very different tasks that you must complete. I won't spoil them here, but let's just say it gets very interesting. Now, the combat is mostly about positioning and movement, so you can do extra damage if you push or pull an enemy into a obstacle in the environment. So if you move a unit next to a hole in the ground and you hit them, they'll fall and do some damage, or they'll be killed outright. Depends on the obstacle. But what goes for them also goes true for your troops, because if they get hit with anything that sends them back or flies them into an obstacle that does damage, but I don't think that I've ever seen one of them get killed outright by an obstacle, but you will see enough damage that it will hurt when they get hit into an obstacle or they are knocked back a bit. It sort of knocks them out of position and lines them up to get hit with another attack. It also knocks them out of their proper range, which messes up your strategy. So you have to be very careful on how you maneuver your troops in battle. And you have to keep in mind the positioning and where everything is on the battlefield. It can lead to some very intense moments. The story of this one is that you are a mercenary band that has suffered a number of setbacks and are at the brink. You're going to have to rebuild the entire team back up from what they were before. And unlike other games on this list, your mercenaries can grow old and retire. That's right. Retirement can cause you to be short of a particular class or a powerful unit that you've been building up if you do not plan for it carefully. So, in my mind, people who will enjoy Iron Oath the most will probably be people who are into the dungeon crawling scene and they like things like Mechanicus or Darkest Dungeons. Others might fall in love with its movement and positioning combat. And others might fall in with their management of the mercenary skills. Out of all of them here is probably the most detailed. It has a unique personality all its own, and it really drew me in. I had fun with it. Cyber Knights Flashpoint was published and developed by the Trace Brothers. It came out of early access. This fun indie game mixes cyberpunk and XCOM to produce a very interesting combination in the form of Cyber Knight Flashpoint. This game has a lot of systems under the hood. It has probably the most complex strategy layer out of all of them. It's about balancing factions' wants, your reputation, favors, potential threats, and other things. Make some of the best gameplay moments you can ever have on any sort of strategic layer. It kind of reminds me a little bit of CK2. Not a lot. It's nowhere linear on that level, but it's kind of the closest out of all of the games in this list. Using both stealth and open combat to help you achieve objectives of your heists that are both fun and challenging. That's right, heists. You'll be doing complex heists instead of regular mercenary work of guarding or attacking. You'll be breaking into places and stealing high-tech equipment, various body mods, and other things to hopefully expand your operations from their humble beginnings into a much larger and much more opulent organization. While this game has got a lot going for it gameplay-wise and has an interesting premise, I do have some criticism for it, mostly to do with this presentation. The graphics look kind of blocky to me, and they're not that bad, but they're not terribly eye-catching either. And the voice acting is non-existent, so you're going to be reading pretty much all of the lines in the game. So if you're not much of a reader, or you don't really like to read when you're playing games, then this might not be for you. But for everyone else, I think they can get past those. While not everyone will be fond of this, I do think some people will like this style. And I also do think some people will like being able to just read instead of listening to voice acting. Some people may even prefer it to bad voice acting. I remember a few games that had terrible voice acting, and I went to myself, maybe you should just not have voice acting and just have people read things instead. It could work out for your favor. And I think I'm glad they took the route. Just like really thinking about it, I'm glad they took that route. Out of all the games on this list, I consider this the most unique experience. Plus, the Trace Brothers routinely update their games for years. So even outside of early access, you can bet you're going to get tons of balance changes, updates, and patches. So if you don't like the game the way it is right now, don't worry. It won't be stuck that way for long. And can I just say, as a side note, I really like that about the Trace Brothers. They work on a game for years. Think about how many developers sort of work on a game that's clearly not finished for about a year, and it's still buggy and a mess, and they just sort of like throw their hands up and say, well, we did everything we could, goodbye. And they leave it to the modders to fix it. And people have spent pretty much a large amount of time hoping they would fix it, because a lot of people bought it at launch. So I'll always appreciate the Trace Brothers for sticking to the game for multiple years and just building it up to be the prime of excellence in the indie gaming space. So all that and more makes it probably one of the best tactical games out there right now. I would recommend this for people who enjoy Invisible Ink, or people who like Cyberpunk, who like XCOM, or who want some combination of both. If you've never bought a Trace Brothers game in your entire life, then this is a good place to start. It has decent enough presentation and a wonderful premise that's executed near perfectly. Okay guys, if you enjoyed this video, just remember the subscribe button is for free, as well as the like button, and leaving any comments in the comment section. Thank you for stopping by. This has been CVS4K, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.